little fast for pit maneuver in some of those situations, Kathy. It's when they make a turn that is the ideal, precise moment that they want to perform a pit maneuver. We're continuing northbound here right now on, I believe this is San Pedro. Northbound on San Pedro Street. You can see the truck is still traveling at a high rate of speed right now. I'm clocking him at about 75 miles per hour, having to abruptly slow down. Here we go. We got a lot of traffic here, cross traffic, as he comes up on Florence Avenue. This is where it gets a little dicey. They get a little agitated here, not regard for that pedestrian right there. But again, they start making these evasive maneuvers, and that's why they put these dangerous pursuits in a tracking mode to prevent anything happening as a result of this driver who is driving quite erratically.
And Megan, you mentioned the driver, possibly a male, the passenger, a female, yet we don't know the relationship or exactly why they are not stopping.
Well, and that's what's, there's a lot of stuff. Oh, fishtailing here. May have, because he was traveling so fast here, may have just lost it, skidded a little. We did not see any pit maneuver. Kathy, dispatchers are definitely working behind the scenes right now. They're trying to, this vehicle, see who it's registered to, see if whether this is the owner of the vehicle, was the vehicle stolen. They're trying to find out the nature of the relationship of these two people. And so a lot of that is happening in the background. Those dispatchers are providing that vital information to law enforcement, LAPD right now, the primary, so they'll be getting that information, so it's a little better idea. Look at that car, having to back up there because of this vehicle as he's going eastbound, just crossing over San Pedro. So vehicle still driving really erratically. I'm surprised LAPD pulling into a lot here. This may be coming to an end here. Pulling into the parking lot of the El Supermarket here, which makes it even more dangerous. Look at all these people over here. Boom, right next to that car.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find another way out, and I was holding my breath, Megan, as this truck flew through that construction area. I don't know if you saw those construction workers surprised, just sort of getting out of the way at the last minute, and that is the exact kind of thing that makes the police nervous about this, wanting to bring this to an end because it's putting so many people in danger, and the driver just with no regard to safety. That desperation now very apparent.
Yeah, desperation, definitely. And Kathy, just as you started talking about that, LAPD decided, let's put this back in a tracking mode. That is exactly what they are doing. They have the LAPD helicopter down below us, above this suspect, following him as he comes up on this intersection here. Looks like he's going to cut turn and make that southbound on Broadway. So, Kathy, now we are in an area where this car has been doing a lot of circles, these streets, Avalon, Broadway, 79th Street. Most likely, he could be familiar with this area, trying to find a place to bail or something, but a lot of times drivers will drive back to an area that they're familiar with, and you can just see how fast he's going as I bring up that speedometer. You can see there on the left side, lower left of your screen, just exactly how fast at times this vehicle is coming to, and we're back into that construction zone here. Let me see where he's going, turning northbound on Main Street. That's Main Street there. There's those same construction workers you were talking about earlier. Look at that guy right there in the hat. He had to run and get out of the way. So it just shows how reckless this driver is driving here on the streets of South LA.
Yeah, they're going to be asking for extra hazard pay in a minute. That driver's made 2 passes by them. But Megan, you mentioned when they start going round and round in an area, usually, many times, we see them looking for a place to bail. They'll get out, start trying to run. This driver could have taken the 110. It's not that far away, right?
Well, yeah, and the fact that he came all the way from Pomona. So, again, this person was traveling from Pomona. We're now on East 69th Street, just south of Main Street. So he is driving back in this area. And then look at this. You see people right there. So people are starting to get out and cheer this person, which is very dangerous. Sometimes we see people getting involved. Now he's turning southbound on San Pedro here. So we're holding our position here, essentially, because he just keeps doing big circles in this area. Again, when he went through that El Supermarket, it just escalates the situation, shows how dangerous these pursuits can be, because that parking lot was full of pedestrians and vehicles. Fortunately, he did not hit anybody or cause any accidents there.
Yeah, and if he keeps going round and round, the thing is people start to realize this is happening. They can hear the police sirens if they're on. They see the line of police cars. They see the helicopters and hear them. So it just creates a lot of attention now. It's another thing that you don't want.
It does, and that's what these people like sometimes. They thrive on that attention. We are picking up the speeds right now. I'm seeing it about 60 miles per hour as we continue southbound on San Pedro, still picking up some speed here. Very dangerous. dangerous speeds here on surface streets right now. He is still escalating his speed. You can see at times he's picking it up beyond 60. No regards for anybody right now. Sometimes traveling through the middle of the road, crossing on the wrong side of the road. You see he's crossing these vehicles here. So continuing southbound right now through South LA, approaching the street. Fortunately, he has a green light, but man, this pursuit's getting wickedly dangerous here. That is why LAPD, they are in a tracking mode, so we don't have any units directly behind this guy.
And best we can tell, there hasn't been an accident, but we did see him fishtail and lose control of the truck at one point.
Yeah, I think he made that turn a little too fast, fish-tailed. He's got a light load in the back of that that truck, rather. So that probably was the culprit, the reason why that happened. Coming up on a major street here, he's coming towards us, Aldo. And he just made a right turn, which means he's traveling westbound on 89th Street. So he's on 89th Street traveling towards News Chopper 4. We'll try to get a good shot of this guy as he's getting closer to us, but very dangerous pursuit on surface streets. He's running numerous stop signs, no regards for any of the traffic laws, pedestrians, or any of the vehicles here on the surface streets.
Okay, so making another turn right here. Again, they've put this into a tracking mode, which means that authorities probably have backed off because this is just too erratic, and they're worried about too many close calls that we've seen just now. As we mentioned, he went through that construction site twice, and we saw those workers having to get out of the way. Went through a supermarket parking lot where people were, and then blowing through these intersections where we're seeing pedestrians out all about. As you mentioned, Megan, good thing that school is not in right now. We're not seeing a whole lot of people out there, but we have seen drivers having to maneuver to get out of the way.
Yeah, that's what makes these pursuits so dangerous here. Just pulling up we're on Main Street here, continuing northbound on Main Street. The 110 Harbor Freeway is to the left of that driver. Alameda, San Pedro is to the right of that driver. So it kind of gives you an idea of where we're going. Continuing northbound, almost touching about 80 miles per hour. Going through construction zones, school zones, no business driving like that on these surface streets. Very dangerous. And that is why, look, you don't see any LAPD units directly behind this guy. The reason is that tracking mode is to really try to get this guy to slow down. And another construction zone here. So we're seeing a lot of that, and that really makes it dangerous, Kathy. We do have these construction workers right there. They're working here. Cars are having to pull over. Whoa, that was another close call. Those are some spectators, and that creates a problem. You get spectators out there cheering this person on, and that just creates more of a diversion here for LAPD officers as well as CHP.
You can see those people out there with their cell phones taking video now, and it's become a spectacle. Exactly what we don't want. We don't want more people out of the road because a simple miscalculation and this driver could go up on the curb very easily. We've already seen him lose control once. And Megan, oh, there we go, people running. And it's interesting because now they're in tracking mode, and sometimes up on the curb, this is unbelievable, Megan.
Yeah, look at that. Well, look at that woman with her child right there. That woman with her child had to move out of the way. That vehicle went up onto the sidewalk. So this pursuit is getting quite dangerous. Officers and watch commander handling this, they're going to want to stop this pursuit here as soon as they can, because now it's starting to get extremely dangerous. They're talking about spike strips here. So obviously that's a situation. It's hard to predict where the vehicle is going to be traveling, but because we're going kind of in the same area, they may try that option here. So the LAPD airship is trying to figure that out. Just ran that red light, continuing on San Pedro. So we're going southbound on San Pedro, just passing 79th. And really, Kathy, again, we're doing circles. This is the LAPD 77th Division area. They're the ones following this pursuit, and you can see this vehicle still traveling at a high rate of speed at times. Oh, there he goes, spinning out. Look at that maneuver. Just stop that vehicle like, oh, look at that. That's why it's spike strip. I got to tell you, I've never seen that. That was quite dramatic, shall I say. Slammed on his brakes to avoid a spike strip, made that turn. It almost looked like a professional driver there doing that, but unfortunately the circumstances quite dangerous, and we can only hope they can deploy a successful spike strip to bring this pursuit to a safe ending.
Yeah, good eye there on you too, Megan, for noticing that, because I was just looking at that vehicle thinking maybe he wanted to make a turn. We are also seeing patrol cars behind him now, so along with the spike strips, they might be looking to disable that truck and then do a pit maneuver. Is that something that they would do at this point?
Definitely, because because this pursuit is escalating, driving on the wrong side of the road right here, now making a turn here, pedestrians still having to jump out of the way. That's the problem. It's because it's getting dangerous, driving on the wrong side of the road, driving on the sidewalk, and that woman and her child had to jump out of the way by that Arco gas station. They want to bring this pursuit to an end. No pursuit is worth life right now, and you can see how he passed that vehicle on the wrong side of the road. So he's still traveling on the wrong side of the road, coming up on Avalon. We've been here before. You can see spectators stopping in the middle, and a lot of times, Kathy, they just want the attention. Looks like he may be taunting officers, slowing down, stuff in the bed of that pickup truck, sliding all over the place. This is just a dangerous pursuit here. Whoa, that car almost made a left turn, almost crashed there. So fortunately, no accident. But Kathy, this is getting to be very dangerous. More now of this guy's kind of showboating in this area, which makes these dangerous pursuits even more dangerous.
Yeah, incredible. Stopping right there in the middle of the intersection. We saw that patrol car there, like you said, could be taunting officers at this point, then taking off again and almost crashing into that car. This has really escalated now to an extremely dangerous pursuit and going through residential areas. A lot of houses there and people out on the streets. The intersection there again, another car going by. Where are we right now, Megan? What street are we on?
Kathy, we are on Central Avenue right there. You can see on the top of your screen there, we've got the traffic bar there, Central Avenue here, traveling northbound. Might be coming underneath News Chopper 4 here in a second, but we've got eyes on him. We'll take advantage of the situation, see if I can get a little tighter shot of him, but I also want to maintain a wide shot as we come up on some of these intersections like this, wrong side of the road, as he runs the red light.
All right, Megan, we just wanted to let our viewers know you're watching the NBC4 News at 11 a.m., where we are watching a very dangerous pursuit, possibly a stolen truck with two people inside, a male driver, female passenger is what we're being told. Already, they have tried a spike strip. The driver was able to avoid it, and we're seeing erratic driving speeds that are high, up to 60, 70 miles per hour on these surface streets. It all started in Pomona, and it has stayed here in South LA, going round and round. We have Megan Reyes live in News Chopper 4 Alpha. And Megan, this is a pretty wild pursuit this morning.
Yeah, yesterday we had that dangerous pursuit. We saw high speeds on the surface streets. Fortunately, that pursuit ended rather quickly. This one, well, double the time as we cross over that red light, just crossing over San Pedro Street. So he's still continuing, I believe that's Gage Avenue. We're westbound on Gage, just crossed over San Pedro, ran that red light, and that's what makes this pursuit so dangerous. We're still in a tracking mode, but Kathy, they are desperately trying to get spike strips deployed, ran that red light at Main Street. So next major street will be Broadway. You can see coming up on the wrong side of the road. Wrong side of the road here as we're coming up on Broadway here.
Yeah, we've had a couple of these moments where we hold our breath. He went through that construction site. He went through the supermarket. For our viewers who are just joining us right now, for a while they went into tracking mode on this one because it just got so dangerous that they wanted to kind of ease off. But then, look, he went into this kind of behavior where he's really putting drivers and pedestrians at risk. So it just raised it up another notch to that higher level. So they got behind him once again, and that is when they decided to try that spike strip. But he was able to avoid it and just keeps going.
I don't see it coming out yet, Alda.
We're continuing to watch here with Megan.
The freeway here.
Okay. All right. Well, this will be something new
if
he does
He's going south 110.
do this. All right. So something new that this driver is doing now. We haven't seen him on the freeway. We've been watching him for the last 20 minutes there in South LA, going round and round. So this is a new maneuver.
Yeah, Kathy, just got on the freeway right now, just passing Florence Avenue, south on the 110 Harbor Freeway here. So he was trying to, it gets tricky when they go underneath a big overpass like that. Sometimes they'll try to use that tactic to evade the airship. He was able to sneak onto that 110 freeway. I'm listening to the LAPD airship call out his position. South on the 110 here, you can see his speeds are about, I think that says about 80 miles per hour. So he is picking up speeds. If anything different here, we'll start seeing quicker speeds, but at least a better situation. If you're going to go fast, the freeway's more open for that, so we don't have any risk to pedestrians, any children, or anybody like in a parking lot, shopping parking lot that we saw earlier. He's doing a little bit of fishtailing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if somewhere he did hit a spike strip we didn't see, because he's starting to have a little problem controlling that vehicle.
Yeah, he looks a little wobbly. I was wondering if that was my eye, but he sure does. So he might have some damage to that truck. We did see him lose control at one point. We did see the spike strip. So So there are a couple of elements here. We'll have to keep an eye on the truck and see how well he maneuvers. He's also moved over there to the far lanes, and it's going to be interesting to see what he plans to do now that he has totally changed course from just the roundabout on the streets of South LA to now on the freeway. And really, staying with traffic. But, oh, look at that across the lanes. Oh, my goodness.
There he goes. There he goes. Yeah, he was made that quick, evasive maneuver. This isn't good. If he continues northbound, Kathy, he's going the wrong way on the freeway. This is not good. Now going northbound on the 110 freeway in the southbound lanes. Look at this guy. This is dangerous. They got to stop this pursuit here. They got to get this guy stopped here. Going this speeds here. This is very scary to watch here.
Yeah, I have to wonder what his plan is right now. They're going against traffic. We saw one patrol car there. Where are we right now? If you get a chance to tell us a locator. We know we're on the 110 Harbor Freeway going the wrong direction.
Yes, and we are approaching Florence Avenue. Look at that. He is in the right lane. He's in the right lane of that freeway. I'm kind of keeping a wide shot to see if we can see any traffic coming southbound right now. Then he goes over to the right shoulder. Vehicles traveling at a high rate of speed on the southbound side, and we've got this guy traveling north on the 110 freeway in the southbound lanes. Next major street, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be Florence Avenue. Hopefully he'll get off of the freeway, but it gets very dicey right here as he uses that on-ramp as a possible off-ramp here to get off the freeway. Right there, there's the accident.
Okay.
That's what we were waiting for. Unfortunately, that person just getting on the freeway.
And he's not stopping. He's not stopping.
Head-on collision, and he's not stopping. So this is really a very dangerous pursuit here, and this person definitely needs to be stopped. No regards for the safety of anybody. Again, exiting the freeway using the on-ramp here, and that's Manchester Avenue right now. So that accident happened on the 110 freeway southbound, right around Manchester.
Okay, so now we've had an accident. We were worried about that, the danger to the public, and you can only imagine what that driver is thinking. They're just going along on their day, and all of a sudden, a truck runs into them off the freeway head on and smashed their car. I hope that they are okay physically, but I can't even speak to emotionally how they feel right now. And Megan, authorities are looking at this, and now they're going to want to pull out all the stops.
Yes, they're going to pull out everything they have as he comes up onto the sidewalk again right now. They are calling for paramedics for that person involved in the accident. Driving on the sidewalk right now. Looks like we may be coming up through another construction zone here. Trying to make a turn here. He's having to wait for traffic, but he's on Manchester right now, making his way northbound here. We'll get you the street here, but going through yet another construction zone. Very dangerous pursuit. We've seen two accidents, one head-on collision on the 110 Harbor Freeway. This vehicle is now traveling northbound on Main. Speeds are really starting to pick up here.
Yeah, I think we've seen it all right now, going through a supermarket, going through a construction site twice with workers having to jump out of the way, a woman pulling her child out of the way in a parking lot. We've seen the driver taunting police, stopping in an intersection, blowing through intersections, cutting off drivers. Now an accident, wrong way on the freeway. I don't think there's anything we haven't seen. And what is happening here? You have driver out of the car. Now the truck continues on. Megan, this is just an insane high-speed pursuit.
Yeah, Kathy, I was zooming in to see the female passenger and look at her body language, and she just had her arm up there, just kind of sitting casually. So again, we don't know the relationship of the driver and the passenger as we continue on Main Street, coming up on another construction zone, traveling northbound on the wrong side of the road. Look how these cars, they have to go around this vehicle. We've been here before along Main Street, continuing northbound. Somebody just threw an object at that vehicle. Perhaps some of these construction workers are getting agitated because this dangerous driver keeps driving through their construction zone, creating a hazard for them, but not only for them, but for all the motorists here on the streets as well.
Yeah, and our law enforcement is so good at handling these situations. They hand off between agencies, they train for different situations, but they are really being tested today just with the changing dynamic of this. He drove around an area in South LA, same streets constantly, and so you're thinking, okay, they're going to try to bail out, they're going to try to stop and try to make a getaway on foot, but no. Went onto the freeway, and looks like the truck may be disabled. They try to spike strip, so they're really having to, from a law enforcement standpoint, really pull out all the stops, try to really reach into their bag of tools that they have to figure out exactly how to bring this driver to a stop. I wonder if they'll try another spike strip in the future, because it did seem that he might have hit one, and that did help to somewhat disable the truck.
Yeah, and he also avoided a spike strip in a manner that I've never seen before. Slammed on the brakes, turned to the left, almost did a 180, pretty much did a 180 to avoid that spike strip. And here we go again. Maybe there was a spike strip down there. Not too sure, but he just flipped a U-turn. Now he's going northbound on Main Street on the wrong side of the road, sometimes going head-on toward those LAPD units. Look to the lower left of your screen. You can see the speeds, how fast this guy is going at times. And look at the stuff in the bed of that pickup truck. Just kind of shows you what a drive, how aggressive his driving is. People running on the sidewalks. Now people get back to that El Supermarket. So passing the El Supermarket here on Florence Avenue, continuing eastbound Florence Avenue away from the 110 Harbor Freeway.
Yeah, and more close calls with drivers and people stepping into the street actually to take photos or video. So definitely something they don't want to see. More people there in the streets waving at them on. It's kind of become a showboating type of pursuit. We're just going round and round in the same streets. Megan, we talk about throwing out spike strips. There we go, more people. We talk about throwing out spike strips kind of like it's no big deal, but it's really dangerous for authorities when they do that.
It is. You know, I can't tell you how many law enforcement officers sadly get killed in situations when they try to deploy spike strips. So it is a very dangerous situation for those law enforcement officers to get out in front of that vehicle and try to safely deploy a spike strip as we're going southbound on Central Avenue right now. This vehicle is still traveling at a high rate of speed. Again, Kathy, now on the wrong side of the road. So it's kind of a cat and mouse game. They kind of have to predict where this driver is going to be, find an ideal spot where they can deploy that spike strip, and as the vehicle drives by, that's when they want to throw that spike strip out and try to successfully deploy it. The aim of that is to look at that. Look how he just, you know, it's almost showboating right now as he slams on those brakes, makes these abrupt turns. But those spike strips are designed to slowly deflate those tires, which subsequently can bring a pursuit to a safe closure.
Yeah, it seems like he absolutely knows what's going to happen now and how that truck's going to handle, and it is a bit of showboating, it would seem, from our perspective, that he's doing right now. And that also comes into play when law enforcement is looking at how are they going to bring this to a stop. Are we seeing any patrol vehicles behind him now?
Let me kind of pull back. No, definitely not. We've been here before. This is 79th Street. He was on 79th Street. Now he's going northbound to McKinley. But the 79th Street is where there was that school. So fortunately, a school's not in session because this would be very dangerous having any pedestrians. Look at every single stop sign. As he comes up into every single intersection, he keeps running the stop sign here. So this is dangerous. This is a residential area, traveling at this high rate of speed, not stopping, kind of showboating at times. You can see people on the sidewalk cheering him on. Some are agitated. We did see somebody throw something at this vehicle earlier. Now he's making that westbound turn there from McKinley. We'll get you the street, but he's heading back toward the direction of the 110 Harbor Freeway.
Okay, so we'll have to see what he does at that point, what the decision making is, and also what authorities will do. But it looks like right now they have decided to back off, and hopefully that will sort of bring the level down a little bit. That's why they do it. They want to keep the driver from getting too agitated. But honestly, with all these people who keep stepping out in the street now, either to take pictures or to sort of cheer him on, or just to give him the attention that the driver may seem to want, it just keeps this escalated, and it keeps it going, and he's really not backing off. He's acting like someone is in pursuit of him.
Yeah, he's going northbound on Avalon right now, still going pretty fast, aggressively driving here, sometimes at the wrong side of the road. Came up on a major intersection where he had to slow down due to the cross traffic. But you can see he goes through the center median. Now he's making a turn here, a westbound turn right next to that market. So that's going to be 67th Street as he continues westbound on 67th here from Avalon.
Okay, I want to see what he's going to do right now, right through the stop sign again. So no attention to any traffic signals or stop signs, but slowing down a little bit here. So I wonder if he is going to make a decision to get out or not.
Yeah, he had to slow down because some of those speed bumps in the roadway. And as we go now on South San Pedro, we're on San Pedro. So we're really just making large circles in this South LA neighborhood. Looks like maybe setting up for a right turn. Might be a dead end there on 69th Street. I'm not too sure how close we are to the Harbor Freeway, but I know coming up some of these streets are not a throwaway. But he's continuing on 69th Street. Should be making his way towards, I think, Maine may be the next one, but heading westbound toward the 110.
He just drove through a whole crowd of people.
Yeah, I wasn't able to see that. I'm looking at the speedometer at that one particular point, but that doesn't surprise me. A lot of people are coming out right now, and that's what makes it dangerous. Folks want to come out here and maybe cheer this guy on, but then they become part of the problem. Look at him slamming on the brakes right there. Spike strip, Kathy. There's a spike strip. He was able to successfully avoid that one. He saw that one coming, so now he's on Florence Avenue, eastbound Florence Avenue there from that major street here. So you know, this guy is just playing a cat and mouse game, and this is a dangerous pursuit. If you are in the area, stay inside. Don't become a part of this pursuit. It only becomes a situation here for LAPD officers. Right there. Look at that LAPD officer right there. Looks like he stopped abruptly to continue northbound as he's going now. We'll get you the street here in a second.
Yeah, he kind of did the same thing that he did earlier, stopping in the middle of the intersection. And you saw the patrol car now making more turns. Megan, it seems like spike strips are not a good idea. He sees almost every one of them and is able to avoid them.
Kathy, I just looking how fast he is traveling on surface streets right here, these residential neighborhoods. We've witnessed a couple of accidents, a head-on collision on the 110 Harbor Freeway, cross traffic right there. So as he comes up on Main Street here, he's turning southbound on Main Street. This guy is just showboating right now, unfortunately, still escalating the situation. Spike strips, I mean, see, these people are filming, and he cuts through the lot with those LAPD officers, guns drawn. I don't think they would be shooting at him at that particular situation unless if that driver actually went toward those officers in an aggressive manner. So now, really, Kathy, that's just kind of taunting those officers. That female officer, she had her gun drawn, and that could have been a very dangerous situation for both parties considering this circumstances right now.
Yeah, it's a felony, and you don't want to threaten the life of an officer with a vehicle driving toward them because that is what they consider it. So. That's, yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. We've been on the air with this now for over 30 minutes, and we're continuing to follow this. It started as a stolen truck, possibly out of Pomona, and we've seen this driver go through the streets of South LA round and round, just turning through stop signs, blowing through. We're in residential areas, many close calls, and one accident already on the 110 freeway where he hit someone head on. Megan, now look, what are we going to do here?
Well, we're continuing. We're paralleling the 110 freeway. I can't tell if this street dead ends here. I think it does. We're going to see what he does. My pilot, Aldo, let me know if you see a street dead end here. He's keeping an eye on it, talking to the airship here, doing a great job getting these shots for us. And he's telling me we're just getting off the 110 freeway. That's an exit right there off the 110 coming up on Gage. So he's making a left turn on Gage, and this is where it can get tricky. I don't know if he's going to get back onto the freeway or continue here. A lot of times they use that underpass as a way to try to evade officers here. So let me just pull out wide and see if I can find this guy.
Okay, we'll know in a minute if we see him come out on the other side or see what he decides to do. But easy to lose him at this point. Looks like she has him. Good work. And there we go. We're off again.
Kathy, I've been around this boat before. We've done this one before, south on the 110 freeway. He did the same trick here. And this guy is going to head back towards where he caused that accident. He's just getting off the freeway again, paralleling the 110 freeway. So this is going to be a little hard. I got to turn up the volume right now, listen to the police, and find out exactly where this driver is going.
Okay, you go for that, Megan. Get your information, and we will get back with you. We're going to stay on the shot right now, and just want to let our viewers know right now. This is the NBC4 News at 11. We've been following the stolen truck pursuit now for over 30 minutes. You see all that debris in the back of that truck. We understand that the driver's male, passenger possibly female. Megan Reyes is in News Chopper 4 Alpha. Megan, you said this driver has done things you've never seen before.
Yeah, Kathy, northbound Figueroa from Florence right now. You can see how fast this vehicle is going. I'm leaving the speedometer up there onto the lower left of your screen. You can see at times those speeds are reaching almost 80 miles per hour on surface streets. Extremely dangerous. This News Chopper 4 Alpha following this pursuit, coming up on a major street here. Making that turn now. This is Gage, so now we're going eastbound on Gage. Wrong side of the road, wrong side of the road. Oh, almost hit that motorcyclist there. So going back underneath the 110 freeway. Let's see what happens as he comes out the other end.
We have been in and out of tracking mode, and coming out there on the other end, it looks like sometimes authorities are content to go into tracking mode just to try to stop this driver. Megan, look at that. Almost another head-on collision.
Yeah, the vehicle making a safe left turn. Vehicle had the right of way, made a safe left turn from Gage, and essentially almost got into a head-on collision because this guy decided today he's going to be in a very dangerous high-speed pursuit as he's going northbound on Broadway right now. Couple of close calls, but we did see a very serious accident, a head-on collision on the 110 freeway as this guy was traveling northbound in the southbound lanes of the Harbor Freeway. That is part of the reason why they are in a tracking mode. They are trying to slow this guy down as he just ran another red light. So continuing along Broadway here, slowing down just a little, fortunately, but then when he thinks he's slowing down, then he starts picking up speeds.
And Megan, getting on the freeway, that did not bode well for him. That truck did not seem to maneuver well. Something has either happened to it or it just, I don't know, it was not maneuvering well. It looked to be fishtailing a bit.
Kathy, I got to say, this Chevy truck here, it's really take a beating right now, and it is still continuing. We saw a head-on collision, a couple of possible spike strips, like doing some fishtailing, which could be something with his suspension, or maybe a tire has a successful spike strip. But I also noticed there was some damage to the vehicle before that crash on the 110 freeway. There was damage on the left front of that vehicle, indication this guy's probably been in an accident before. So this vehicle taking a beating, still going on right now. You can only hope maybe he'll run out of gas. Got a pedestrian crossing the street over there. Look how he has to get out of the way. Yeah, he's running. He doesn't know if that guy's going to make that right turn. Fortunately, he turned left, which means he's going westbound on Vernon Avenue, heading back toward the 110 Harbor Freeway.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if he gets on the 110, like I said, because it didn't maneuver well and things didn't go well for him. He ended up going the wrong way on the freeway. Almost looked like it was going to come to an end, and he inches through there, right through the construction site, taking out cones all along the way with him. It has been a rough day, Megan, for construction workers and this pursuit.
It definitely is. We're seeing a lot more construction out there, and because of that, this guy is just taking advantage of the situation, going through those construction zones, and some of those workers are having to run for their own safety. Continuing on Vernon Avenue, traveling westbound on Vernon Avenue. We're just west of the 110 Harbor Freeway as we're passing Hoover Street.
Okay, and the speeds, he's still staying up there in speeds, right? Going pretty fast there for side streets.
Yeah, he is definitely going a little too fast. Now since we're on the west side of the 110 freeway, this is new territory, approaching Vermont. Let's see what he decides to do. He's continuing westbound. We're starting to see a little more traffic here. We're coming into the LAX airspace here, so hopefully we'll be able to continue westbound. This is their approach path here, but so far looks like we're able to continue as we're following him on Vernon Avenue, just passing Vermont. At times, still driving on the wrong side of the road, still making this one of the most very dangerous pursuits here that we have seen here just recently.
Yeah, and by now authorities have run plates on this and know much more information about the truck, at least. We don't know much about the people inside the vehicle. We were told a male driver, female passenger, and that this was possibly a stolen truck out of Pomona. Other than that, we're not really getting any information on why they might continue to run or do this showboating type of behavior where they're stopping in the middle of intersections and seeming to taunt police and then continuing on and with no regard for anyone and not stopping at all. But Megan, this is one of the first shots we've been able to see right up there in the front where we got a look at least of the arm of the driver.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a quick, tight shot of that male driver as described, wearing a hat, wearing a blue bandana, red T-shirt, traveling southbound on Normandy, still traveling at a high rate of speed. Very dangerous pursuit here, crossing over some of these intersections. Fortunately, at times, he does have a green light, but at times he's blazing through some of these red lights here, making it all too dangerous, weaving in and out of vehicles as he's traveling southbound on Normandy. Should be coming up on Manchester. That should be one of the next major streets.
Well, some good news. We're not seeing as many people out because it's a new area. Because earlier we were seeing crowds of people. I saw 10 people at one point that came up right to the truck, and they're taking pictures, they're taking video, it seems, and just cheering this driver on.
Yeah, they seem to do that sometimes during these pursuits. You'll see individuals, and you can see the front of that vehicle right now. Some of that damage sustained from one of those mini collisions, especially that 110 head-on collision. We are on Slauson Avenue, vehicle turning left onto Slauson. So now he's making a northbound turn here. We'll get the street here in a second, but you can see this vehicle, Budlong, northbound on Budlong here. This is a very narrow street. This guy doesn't care. He's still traveling really fast, driving recklessly. My pilot's telling me there's traffic ahead here, so let's see what it's all about.
Okay, we see the police helicopter there. I spoke too soon because we saw people running into the streets here as well, so they're definitely tracking this, following this, and waiting for that driver to come through their area. Never a good idea. For one, he doesn't have the best control of his truck in some instances. We've seen that. It's very dangerous. Two, he's been up on a curb where he actually made the decision to go up on a curb and just driving erratically at a high rate of speed through residential areas. No regards to other drivers or even pedestrians with children.
Yeah, Kathy, now we're going on 51st Street. We're making a turn from Budlong onto East 51st Street, slowing down for some of those speed humps right there. Look at that Ryder truck blocking part of the road. He slows down to get by that safely. Fortunately, nobody was in his way, because I highly doubt this vehicle will stop. This vehicle having to move to the side in order to get out of the way of this driver. So, you know, people are starting to hear about this in this neighborhood. We're going back into some of the familiar territories where this driver was driving earlier. Now we're turning southbound here on Vermont. So we're southbound on Vermont. We're still just west of the 110 freeway, but still this dangerous pursuit continues. Look at that LAPD helicopter. Great job by that observer and the pilot relaying information down to those officers below. And you see how he just abruptly stops, makes that abrupt stop, and then makes a turn here. So this guy is definitely still had a few tricks here up his sleeve, but unfortunately a very dangerous pursuit. We're still seeing this, and it's been going on for quite some time.
It has, and like you said, still pulling off all those tricks, still willing to make these dangerous moves. Authorities still in tracking mode, I'm assuming?
Yes, absolutely. They are in tracking mode. No doubt these officers are trying to set up in some strategic areas to deploy a spike strip. We saw a few of them over just east of the 110 Harbor Freeway, but now we're in new territory. We're just west of the Harbor Freeway, going southbound here on one of these major streets here, approaching Slauson. Let me find out where this guy is. There he is. Just lost him for a second, but he is continuing southbound. The Harbor Freeway is off to the left of the driver's side, and we're continuing southbound on Hoover. And you can see this vehicle sometimes making erratic maneuvers, and then at times driving on the wrong side of the road to get around traffic.
Yeah, he really is. He's driving very aggressively, and you have to wonder how long he's going to be willing to just keep this up, going round and round, doing this. And he's got no one behind him. He could definitely be aware of the airships above him, but you just wonder how long he's going to keep going, how long he'll be motivated to keep this up.
Copy that. 60th Street right now. 60th Street going eastbound. I'm trying to see. I know some of these streets here go into a dead end. Trying to see if this street looks like it's going to go through right now. Pilot's shaking his head. No, I mean it's Thoroughway here. Coming up on a major street right now here, Figueroa. So we're coming northbound on Figueroa, and what a job these pilots are doing down below. LAPD airship relaying the information to those ground units from Figueroa. Now making that right turn going eastbound, headed toward the 110 Harbor Freeway.
Yeah, they're so good at that. They really train for it. They know how to do it. They certainly have the experience. We have an awful lot of pursuits, but they're good at relaying that information and very good at staying with the driver. It'll be interesting to see, as you said, what they plan to do next, because they're taking some time now. They've tried some spike strips, haven't seen a pit maneuver, but they are not following right now other than in the air to try to get this driver to back off. But I'm not really seeing any change in behavior.
No, Kathy, the only way I'm thinking, look at that pedestrian crossing the street. Fortunately, he does stop. Well, stops me. He may have saw something up here, so he's continuing on 59th place. He was going to make that left turn here. You know, he's getting back into the area where he was driving in circles for quite some time. Maybe familiar territory for this driver as we're continuing on 59th place. Next major street there I heard was just Main Street as he crossed over it.
Yeah, if his goal is still to get away, we could see at some point him deciding to pull over and to bail and to get into a foot chase. We've seen that so many times, and it is sort of the way it's their method of operation, the way they do this, driving round and round looking for a place to stop. We haven't really seen him appear to do that, like slow down in an area where it looked like he was going to bail out. So we'll just have to wait and see. It's been the same situation over and over, just turning street to street. But spike strips haven't worked. He's just been able to drive around those so effectively that I'm wondering if the plan right now is to just let him get tired and stay back and see if he'll be less agitated. Where do we see where he is now? He's in an industrial area.
Yeah, it gets a little tricky with some of these buildings here, but we're maintaining visual of this guy here, trying to get through this big rig here. This is 61st Street going through an industrial area here as we're continuing eastbound here. Kathy, probably one of the units that are close up to this vehicle here when this pursuit comes to an end is a K9 unit. That's one of the resources that officers will definitely utilize if this goes into a foot pursuit. You did mention the possibility of that earlier. We're coming up on a major street right here, now turning southbound on Central. So it's getting a little dicey in some areas right now. Very dangerous pursuits been going on for I'd say what is it, well over an hour as this truck here is coming up on this intersection. Fortunately, he just stopped shy of hitting that black vehicle.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You know, I'm wondering why not stop. Is it a stolen vehicle? Are they trying to get away? What is the situation? Is the passenger complying with this person? They know each other, or in the vehicle against their will? We really don't know. Megan, you were able to show us a little bit inside, so we got a bit of a glimpse of the driver, at least what he's wearing. Bandana and a red shirt. And we just want to thank our viewers who are joining us right now. We're going to continue with this past, look at that, unbelievable, putting something in the truck. What? It's 11:30 right now, Megan. I just want to say we're continuing the 11 o'clock news now through California Live because it is so dangerous. Megan.
Yeah, Kathy, that person handed something off to this suspect here. LAPD airship is calling out the description that's right off of Florence Avenue where that happened. They are going to detain that person, and they are going to try to find out exactly what they handed off to that individual. Very dangerous. Officers don't know, could it be a weapon or anything of that nature? We're not speculating, but these are legitimate questions law enforcement wants to know, and that's where it becomes very dangerous now, considering that person ran up to that vehicle. We saw it here live on Channel 4, handed that person, it looks like the passenger, something right now. So now this makes us even more dangerous here as far as this pursuit is concerned. What exactly does that person have, and are law enforcement officers and is the public right now in any more danger?
For sure, that absolutely plays into this. Who is that person? Why are they running up to the truck? What did they hand them? What do they now have in their possession? Law enforcement has to proceed right now as if that could be a weapon. They have to. They have to for their information as they try to bring this to an end, and they have to for the public's safety. So we don't know what that was or who that person is, but as you said, if they're going to be detained, they'll be getting some answers very soon. And we see him now right behind that truck, trying to inch through, not waiting, not content to wait, and really that truck
look
just,
at those tires.
Yeah, smoking.
Yeah, Kathy, I'm sorry to cut you off, but this car may be aware of that pursuit, and you can see him. He's trying to pass through this. Look at those tires just spinning and burning that rubber as he's trying to get past this area. The female passenger right now sitting in that vehicle here. Look at this. This is right here on Town Avenue north of Florence.
So they brought it to a standstill, but not a good idea to ever get involved in a pursuit like that. Very dangerous. We don't know who these people are. We don't know what they're in possession of. That is really smoking now. They cannot get through. And Megan, I'm wondering how fast law enforcement will be up on this situation, because this is getting super intense right now.
Yeah, it is. It is. Look at this. He's ramming that vehicle, going back and forth. Now he's going to escalate this, pick up some more speed, slam into this car. This guy in the white pickup truck, he's not giving up. He's not giving up his spots right now. Makes it pretty dangerous here. Passing him right now. It did give law enforcement time to get a little closer to this vehicle, but if anything, good. Look at his tire.
Done.
This thing is going to be over soon. So
Yeah.
you know what? That's a good thing that happened. That thing is smoking. Anytime soon, this thing could catch on fire. We're starting to see a lot of smoke from that. Driver getting a little more agitated. Look at the body language of that driver. That's what law enforcement helicopter, that's what the LAPD helicopters relaying to the officers down below. Body language is very important, and we also emphasize dispatchers. They are working feverishly behind the scenes, passing along vital information to law enforcement officers, the officers who are the primary units. Maybe they have more information than we are aware of right now. But again, the relationship of this driver and the passenger, if this vehicle was stolen, was it taken into commission of a violent crime or anything of that nature, these are answers law enforcement are getting from those dispatchers. And look, as he fishtails, continuing northbound here, approaching 69th Street. This should be ending soon, because I don't see this vehicle lasting any longer.
No, also coming into play is his determination to just keep going when he knows that time is limited. And, we'll have to see what he's going to do right now. Will he try to get ahead of law enforcement and bail out now? More people there on the left, just a crowd of spectators on each side, tires coming off. The
Yeah, and
wheels
that tire
literally
becomes
coming off.
that tire becomes dangerous too. I mean, you've got a rolling tire down the street if there's pedestrians or anything. Here we go. 69th Street, the 100 block of 69th Street. Is kind of slowing it down. You can see how he's really trying to pick up this vehicle, but I think this Chevy truck is just saying, I got no more. I don't know how much longer we can last with this pursuit here going westbound on 69th Street through this residential area. This would be a perfect time for officers to be able to get in front of this vehicle and perhaps deploy another spike strip here as we come up on Main Street, turning southbound on Main.
Yeah, they are right behind him now, but still not doing anything as he continues to inch along. And I'm just wondering if they want to kind of stay out of those residential areas because they have so many people there. That also comes into play when they are trying to bring this whole thing to an end. I'm sure they do not want a lot of people on the streets if this does become a standoff.
Kathy, look at the rear, or look at the passenger door. The doors are partly ajar.
Oh, yeah.
Most likely that's indication we're getting ready for a foot bail. So the passenger may be getting ready to run out. They will have units deal with the passenger, but they will also have another unit continue with the vehicle if this pursuit continues. We're traveling westbound on 71st Street, should be heading toward the 110 Harbor Freeway, but that's an indication that she may be attempting to bail as we cross over that main street there. Still continuing here. Vehicle, if anything, the good news, it's slowing down, not going as fast as it was earlier. So with decreased speeds, we're seeing minimum risk now to the public. So that's good news, but he's having a hard time making some of these turns. LAPD up really close. Hopefully this officer can do a pit maneuver, spin this vehicle around, draw their weapons on this suspect, and bring this pursuit to an end.
And Megan, as you mentioned, the K-9 unit has already probably been called and is ready to come to the scene in case it is a standoff and they want to send the dog in. They have ended pursuits that way before, but right now they have to plan for pretty much any scenario. And we're seeing another vehicle, another patrol car there at the intersection.
Yeah, they're able to flood this area now because he is going so slow and his vehicle is starting to slow down, and due to all the damage, officers are able to get in this area and maybe set up another spike strip or hopefully do a pits maneuver, trying to see if this is going to be a dead end. But we've been here before. That is, I think that might be Gage or Florence Avenue. Starting to see sparks.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of time. You know, this thing is going to either just stop on its own or it's going to catch fire, but sooner or later this pursuit is going to come to an end. But the good news right now, slower speeds. So we're starting to see just a little more time and opportunity for officers to intervene and hopefully bring this to an abrupt end.
Yeah, slower speeds, but right when you said that, it seemed like he tried to pick up speed just a little bit, putting a little bit of distance between him and the patrol car that is right behind him. But the good news is this vehicle really disabled at this point, so it's really a waiting game until it's not able to continue. Look at that. More.
See that rim came off that vehicle and hit a car. So it came off that pickup truck and hit a car, but it could have just been easily a pedestrian. So it's still a dangerous situation, even though now we're going at a slow rate of speed. This vehicle is starting to break up a little. with those rims flying away and those tires going down the roadway. Just crossing that. Oh, my goodness. That was close. That's Gage Avenue there at Main Street. LAPD really close. Look at all these officers right now.
They're just waiting, right?
Yeah. I think they're going to engage and try to do a pit maneuver. I'm waiting to hear whether or not the watch commander is going to have them do that. But really, Kathy, he's not going to be going anywhere. The vehicle slowed down, and that was the most important thing. They were able to get this vehicle to slow down right now. We don't see those dangerous high rate of speed, so they just may be waiting for the exact precise moment to intervene here.
Yeah, and we have to mention, too, they have two people to deal with in this truck that we know about, a man and a woman who is a passenger. But also, at some point, Megan, we saw live on the air here someone run out to the truck and hand the passenger something.
Very dangerous. And again, we're speculating what could that be? And believe me, police officers want to know as well, could that be a weapon? That's definitely their first question. Aldo's telling me a lot of traffic here up ahead. Sure enough, using the wrong side of the road. Look at that spike strip right there. He has a spike strip. And those officers right there deployed the spike strip. So we were able to get another spike strip there at Avalon and 64th Street. Let me center this shot. It's just a matter of time before this thing starts to come to an end here. But officers were able to deploy another spike strip. So looks like they'll be using that tactic to disable this vehicle.
Yeah, they've done a good job with spike strips. They've had a lot of them out there, and they've had them right in the areas where he is traveling. He's just been able to avoid them for the most part. I don't know if he ever hit one, but some pretty dramatic moves to avoid those spike strips. But officers, kudos to them. They were able to get out there and get those deployed, and that's dangerous for them to do, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, look at that passenger. She's getting out. She's waving to people here. So, again, it's just a classical situation where they go into some neighborhoods sometimes during a pursuit, whether they know this neighborhood or not. They start cheering on the evading vehicle, and then the suspect and the passenger, they start cheering the other people as well. So it just becomes a spectacle in this neighborhood, makes it a little dangerous here. Just crossing over Florence Avenue, going southbound on Avalon on Florence Avenue. Look at that. On those rims there, that car is still going. This guy is not giving up. That Chevy truck, we keep telling you, it's really taking a licking here. It's still continuing there southbound on Avalon Boulevard as this suspect is just not wanting to give up.
Absolutely not wanting to give up. And it's not just a colossal waste of manpower and time on the part of all of the officials who are trying to bring this to an end. A huge danger to the community, and the very same people who are going out onto the streets and taking pictures of this, those are the people they want to protect. And we've seen the erratic driving from this car. We've seen this vehicle up on sidewalks, going through supermarkets, people literally running out of the way, blowing through construction sites, and as you said, Megan, accidents hitting head on. One car that we saw live on the air going the wrong way on the 110 freeway. So just a very dangerous driver.
Yeah, Kathy, I can't tell what that driver did, or that passenger, or that pedestrian, rather. He just threw something at that vehicle. Might want to mark that. That's southbound on Avalon Boulevard there. And again, you think you're going out there and you think you're helping law enforcement officers, but you become a distraction. You become part of the problem, unfortunately. And at times, officers could apprehend somebody and get them for obstruction if they feel necessary. But again, we've been seeing people get involved. That white pickup truck, when it was parallel to the 110 freeway, pretty much stopping this car in its tracks. This is the second time I saw somebody throw something at this vehicle. Some of these people are getting agitated. Maybe they are fed up with the dangerous pursuit in their neighborhood. They wanted to stop as well. We're continuing southbound on Avalon, just running that green light. Fortunately, it's a green light here, but this vehicle, we're starting to see more people on the sidewalks. And you brought up a really good point, Kathy. A lot of resources are diverted from proactive law enforcement patrol now dealing with this pursuit. So it takes away a lot of manpower. We have a lot of LAPD units. We have some adjacent units, maybe from LA Unified School Police. I just saw a school police parked over to the right shoulder there. And we have a couple of the LAPD helicopters. These are resources that are focusing on this pursuit when they can be out there protecting and serving other individuals right now. But all their attention is diverted here. They want to bring this pursuit to a safe end and make sure nobody, including the suspects, get injured.
Yeah, and Megan, it's incredible how the driver just keeps going and going and even picking up a little bit of speed, and that truck so disabled, and yet he keeps driving. I'm waiting for him to have some sort of another major issue that possibly will bring this to a stop. And hopefully we'll see a peaceful surrender. I don't know. We've been in situations, of course, where they get into a standoff, and police do want to be very careful because we don't know if these people are armed. We don't know what was handed to them when we saw that person live on the air run out to the truck and hand them something. And Megan, so someone is watching, someone in law enforcement watches and documents all of the crimes that are committed. So, for example, the head-on on the 110, the almost hitting pedestrians, all of that is documented. And besides the failure to yield, it's sort of mind-boggling how many charges this person will be facing.
And we heard it earlier when we were monitoring this pursuit. They usually have 2 helicopters. One of those helicopters is there for a backup, but they also are making indications how many stop signs, how many red lights this vehicle runs, how many times they go up onto a sidewalk. So they are, like right there, ran a red light there, going on Gage at San Pedro, just ran that red light. So, they're documenting it, but, it also comes to a point, like how many times are we going to be able to charge this guy with numerous red lights? But they do keep track of all that information. I do see law enforcement officers getting a little bit closer. Hopefully they may do a pit maneuver. I think that would probably be one of the only ways to bring this slow speed pursuit now to an end. Just coming off of Century Boulevard, heading northbound on Main, and it looks like this guy's only doing barely 20 miles per hour.
Yeah, I would think too that at this point pit maneuver might be the way to go, and yet we're seeing officers staying back just a little bit. So I'm wondering if they're almost waiting for this vehicle to become disabled before they go in and do that pit maneuver. But when they would want to do it, as Megan said, would be on one of those turns when the speed is much slower, and it can be more of a controlled movement, because the last thing they want to do is create any more danger. But we just continue to see him, tires smoking, rims falling off tires. It's ridiculous how disabled, a cone, from a previous construction incident where we saw him drive through several times and still continues to go.
Yeah, and Kathy, I'm looking at the body language. That definitely tells a tale. I'm looking at the passenger. She keeps moving around frantically, as far as, I think frantically is the wrong word. She keeps waving her arms out to people, at times making gestures towards law enforcement officers. So, from what I see, it seems like she is probably a willing participant in this vehicle, may know this individual, but you can see she's turning around, and the building's in her way. But earlier I was able to see at times of her kind of making some gestures towards law enforcment officers. So
we caught that briefly.
Yeah, that's another telltale, but you could see we still have a lot of sparks coming from the left rear of this vehicle, and this pickup truck still continuing right now. We're on 87th place here, traveling eastbound, should be coming out to San Pedro Street here shortly.
So is this an area that we have been before? Is he still continuing that same route?
Yes, we have definitely been here before. This will give me an opportunity right now. Let me zoom in. Yeah, see that orange thing on the car?
Oh yeah,
the windshield. That's what I saw that person on the street there throw at that vehicle. It looks like may even shattered the windshield. I can't tell. The front of that windshield appears to perhaps paint or something. Obviously somebody was agitated and threw something at that vehicle, but we're starting to see fire now in the rear of this pickup truck here. It's just a matter of time. I mean, this guy doesn't want to give up. He's going to stay out as long as he can, but it's just a matter of time before the suspect, the female passenger and the driver, are apprehended.
All right, Megan, we're going to continue to watch this live video right now, and we're going to check in with a police officer, a former officer, Scott Wright. So we thank you. You're with the LAPD, or you were. We appreciate you joining us. This has been a very intense pursuit. What can you tell us about what the LAPD is thinking right now?
Well, what they're going to do is they're basically maintain distance. They'll have additional units. If the individual decides to exit the vehicle at some point, it's going to come to an at-rest position at some point. And if he takes off, then I guarantee they've got K-9 en route, and they've got additional officers, so they'll set up a perimeter. And he's definitely going to be caught one way or the other. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I don't know how much you've seen, but we were watching as someone ran out and handed them something. What would officers make of that?
Well, unfortunately, people are very strange. I don't know. People hand them, beer. They hand them water. It's beyond me. I'll put it that way.
Okay, and look at this right now. We're watching. Let's go back up to Megan. We keep Officer Reitz there watching this with us. Megan, we're seeing the driver open the car door, but not getting out.
Yeah, that's the passenger. Earlier, remember, we saw the passenger, no worries, constantly opening that door, whether or not it's indication that they could get ready for a foot bail here. She just seems to be opening that door and yelling at officers and people in the area. This can also be a situation where these individuals could be under the influence of some type of substance here, because this is not normal, rational behavior. They're very fidgety. Something was handed to them. We don't know, but look at this driver here, or the passenger, agitated here, constantly looks back towards officers. I think she may have, I thought she had a mask on, but look at her. She's constantly fidgety here, so we're not sure if they are under the influence of some type of substance, but that is definitely a factor officers may want to consider, because this is irrational behavior here, and we're continuing the slow speed pursuit. Just a matter of time. Just give it up.
And if Officer Reitz is still there, what do officers make of this now? Does it change anything about what they're going to do?
Well, officers come across individuals all the time, what we term diminished capacity, where they're under influence. Typically what they're seeing now is a lot more meth use, which is, you have the very erratic behavior, very fidgety, and the problem is all the senses are heightened and everything else, and very irrational decisions are made on behalf of the individual who is under the influence of methamphetamine.
Okay, thank you, officer. And let's go back to Megan. Megan, the door is open. It's staying open. We're in a bit of a standoff now because the truck isn't moving. The driver and passenger are out.
Yeah, I'm surprised they ran out. I wanted to keep a wide shot because I didn't know what these individuals were going to do. We're going to stay with the driver. Suspect is down right there. So the driver is being apprehended right now. Let me turn that down. Suspect is being apprehended. The female passenger, she's being apprehended there as well. Let me show you the female because we've got a clear shot. She has been taken into custody. A couple of those dogs right there, a little excited there. All this commotion going on in the front yard. This is on 78th Street. Looks to be I'll get you the exact location, but 78th Street here, just east of the 110 Harbor Freeway. That's the female passenger. She doesn't seem to be complying to the commands, although they do have her in handcuffs. Very erratic behavior. So good news, we got her in custody, and we also have the driver. He's right behind these trees, but he is also in custody here as well.
All right, so that finally coming to an end. Those dogs think they have the biggest get of the day. That female passenger now in LAPD custody. We want to thank Officer Reitz for sharing information with us. He's a former officer with the LAPD. Thank you to him for giving us a little insight into what LAPD officers have to handle when they're facing a situation like this. And Megan, this has been a day. This going on now for more than an hour that we have been following it, and we've seen erratic driving, we've seen accidents here, and at the very end, rims falling off and sparks coming from that truck.
Yeah, tremendous job by LAPD and tremendous restraint staying with this vehicle. Here is the suspect. They are frisking this driver right now, making sure he has no weapons or anything of that nature, checking this guy out, calling for paramedics if this individual needs any assistance right now. But considering the circumstances, they may be calling for paramedics if they feel they are under some type of controlled substance. We're not saying they are, but their behavior definitely is indicative of it right now. So this pursuit is code 4, as officers are saying. Suspect in custody. Let's see that vehicle, whether if it caught fire or not. Fortunately, that is not the case, but that's the beat-up Chevy truck that was in this pursuit. Fortunately, Kathy, it's come to an end, but we did see one serious accident on the 110 Harbor Freeway as this vehicle was traveling on the wrong way.
Yeah, and Megan, you were mentioning that they did send paramedics to that scene. Hopefully, no one was terribly injured, but again, it was a head-on collision and had to be, if not anything else, shocking for the driver of that car.
Yeah, definitely. That was on the 110 freeway as the vehicle was traveling northbound in the southbound lanes. And almost an hour later, it seems like this pursuit has come to an end. This is 78th near Main, 78th Street near Main. Now they're calling for crowd control. Look at this. This is the other problem right here. We're starting to get this crowd control here, so they're calling for some additional units here. Got a lot of these spectators here, so they want to make sure that this is in a safe area. They want to make sure officers remain safe as well as the suspects, but this becomes a spectacle here, so that's why they're calling for additional units for crowd control here on 78th and Main.
Yeah, they do have quite a crowd out there. Thankfully, this did not become a standoff situation, as you pointed out, and Officer Reitz pointed out. The K-9 unit was likely en route, if it isn't already there at this scene, and if it had become a standoff, they'd have to then deal with that. I think the officers are they're getting some help from those dogs who find this all very exciting, them taking this female passenger into custody now. But this pursuit, again, going on for more than an hour. If you joined us halfway, it all started in Pomona. We think this might have been a stolen vehicle, but the headline here is that it was just an erratic pursuit, high speeds on surface streets all around South LA, turn after turn, and many times avoiding those spike strips that the LAPD was laying out until this truck finally got on the 110 freeway, was in a head-on collision, was going the wrong way at one point, and it did become disabled. We saw parts flying off, we saw sparks coming from it, and even saw someone walk up to the car or run up to the car and hand these people something. We still don't know what that was.
Yeah, right now they got that female officer to pat down this individual. They called for a female officer to do that, so she put on her gloves. You can see those LAPD officers also have their mask on. You know, it puts them in a dangerous situation. They have to come in close contact with this individual. They don't know her situation or her status right now, so officers are doing the best to protect themselves. They're frisking her right now, doing a cursory search. I think that may actually be the wrong word, but they're doing a search here to make sure she has no weapons or any drugs. They're going to go through her entire pockets and pat her down to make sure that she is clear from any weapons or narcotics. That is procedure, what they're doing there. Most likely they've already done it to the driver. Last we saw, he was still on the ground and he may be injured. Not too sure. I'm trying to hear whether or not they're calling for paramedics for this individual, but this male driver who led officers on a very dangerous pursuit is still on the sidewalk right now. We're on 78th Street, just off of Main.
All right, let's talk to Officer Reitz. He's still on the phone with us right now, and since we have him, I just want to ask you, I'm just counting all the officers who had to respond to this. It takes up a lot of manpower to stick with a pursuit that lasts this long and goes around and around on streets there in the neighborhood. It just seems like you put so much effort into it, and then it all ends like this.
Yeah, that's true. And you're draining a tremendous amount of resources at the time. And unfortunately, you can't predict what the suspect's ultimate actions are going to be. Therefore, you have to cover all contingent possibilities, which means parallel routes, following behind, trying to get people ahead of the thing if you're going to put down a spike strip down, anything like that. So it does. It drains a lot of personnel out of the field for a short period of time.
And you're such a valuable source to us because you are a 30-year veteran of the LAPD, and you're a SWAT team member. So often we see these things end where we're in a standoff, and it just becomes this tense situation. Your officers, you trained for this many, many years.
That's correct. And even the officers in pursuit know that if they get in a situation and it becomes a standoff, that they're going to initiate the call down to Metro. If necessary, then D-Team or SWAT's going to get spooled up, and then they're going to respond in kind. And at that point, we're going to take over and resolve it.
How do you keep your adrenaline down? I mean, I know it can't be down completely because you're involved in the pursuit too, but you have to perform a job.
Well, what you do is you allow the suspect to make all the mistakes, which they generally do. They overdrive, and you're trained. You're not going to have it right at the outset, but after about 5 years on the job, you've pretty much seen, especially in Los Angeles, a lot of different things. And when you come across something that's high intensity, it's kind of, okay, I've been here before, and this is how we're going to get through it. And it's the younger officers, as I was, and you get all excited as you get older. The older officers seem to be, they're just like a walk park and you don't understand why, and you realize it's experience and nothing more.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we have the means to offer our officers a lot of experience because we have a lot of these pursuits. But we want to thank you and all law enforcement for doing your part to keep us safe. And we know that's why you're out there. We thank you as well here from NBC4 for getting on the line with us and providing some insight into this today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. We're going to switch now from this coverage that we've been on for the last hour and give you an update right now on your weather because it's been so nice outside and we're heading into a holiday. And I haven't been able to see my good friend Belen De Leon in so long. And although I'm seeing you from a distance because of social distancing rules, I just wanted to say hello to you.